Three heads, old yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. One head, two tails, yang yang. 3 tails, old yin. We'll start by reading some passages from Wen Tzu, Understanding the Mysteries, another great classic of Chinese Taoism containing teachings also attributed to the author of the Tao Te Ching. One. Lao Tzu said, "There is something, an undifferentiated whole, that was born before heaven and earth. It has only abstract images, no concrete form. It is deep, dark, silent, undefined. We do not hear its voice. Assigning a name to it, I call it the Way. The Way is infinitely high, unfathomably deep, enclosing heaven and earth, receiving from the formless. It produces a stream running deep and wide without overflowing. Opaque, it uses gradual clarification by stillness. When it is applied, it is infinite and has no day or night. Yet when it is represented, it does not even fill the hand. It is restrained, but can expand. It is dark, but can illumine. It is flexible, but can be firm. It absorbs the negative and emits the positive, thus displaying the lights of the sun, moon, and stars. Mountains are high because of it. Oceans are deep because of it. Animals run because of it. Birds fly because of it. Unicorns roam because of it. Phoenixes soar because of it. The stars run their courses because of it. It secures survival by means of destruction, secures nobility by means of lowliness, and secures advancement by means of retirement. In antiquity, the 3 august ones attained the unifying order of the Way and stood in the center. Their spirits roamed with creation, and thus they comforted all in the 4 quarters. Thus the Way affects the movement of the heavens and the stability of the earth, turning endlessly like a wheel, flowing ceaselessly like water. It is there at the beginning and the end of things. As wind rises, clouds condense, thunder rumbles, and rain falls, it responds in concert infinitely. It returns the carved and polished to simplicity. It does not contrive to do this, but it merges with life and death. It does not contrive to express this, but communicates virtue. It involves a peaceful happiness that is without pride, thus attaining harmony. There are myriad differences as the Way facilitates life. It harmonizes dark and light, regulates the 4 seasons, and tunes the forces of nature. It moistens the vegetable world, permeates the mineral world. The beasts grow large, their coats lustrous. Birds' eggs do not break. Animals do not die in the womb. Parents do not suffer the grief of losing their children. Siblings do not experience the sadness of losing each other. Children are not orphaned. Women are not widowed. Atmospheric signs of ill omen are not seen. Robbery and banditry do not occur. All this is brought about by inner virtue. The natural constant way gives birth to beings but does not possess them. It produces evolution but does not rule it. All beings are born depending on it, yet none know to thank it. All die because of it, yet none can resent it. It is not enriched by storage and accumulation, nor is it impoverished by disbursement and enjoyment. It is so ungraspable and undefinable that it cannot be imagined. Yet while it is undefinable and ungraspable, its function is unlimited. Profound and mysterious, it responds to evolution without form. Successful and effective, it does not act in vain. It rolls up and rolls out with firmness and flexibility. It contracts and expands with darkness and light. 2. Lao Tzu said, "Great people are peaceful and have no longings. They are calm and have no worries. They make the sky their canopy and the earth their car. They make the 4 seasons their horses and make dark and light their drivers. They travel where there is no road, roam where there is no weariness, depart through no gate. With the sky as their canopy, nothing is not covered. With the earth as their car, nothing is not born. With the 4 seasons as their horses, nothing is not employed. With dark and light as their drivers, nothing is not included. Therefore, they are swift without wavering, travel far without tiring. With their bodies unperturbed, their intellects are undiminished, and they see the whole world clearly. This is holding to the essence of the way and observing the boundless earth. Therefore, the affairs of the world are not to be contrived, but promoted according to their own nature. Nothing can be done to help the changes of myriad beings, but to grasp the essential and return to it. Therefore, sages cultivate the basis within and do not adorn themselves outwardly with superficialities. They activate their vital spirit and lay to rest their learned opinions. Therefore, they are open and uncontrived, yet there is nothing they do not do. They have no rule, yet there is no unruliness. To be uncontrived means not acting before others. To have no rule means not to change nature. That there is no unruliness means that they go by the mutual affirmation of beings. 3. Lao Tzu said, "Those who hold to the way to guide the people go along with affairs as they occur, and act in accord with what people do. They respond to developments in all beings and harmonize with changes in all events. So the way is empty and unreified, even and easy, clear and calm, flexible and yielding, unadulterated and pure, plain and simple. These are concrete images of the way. Empty non-reification is the abode of the way. Even ease is the basis of the way. Clear calm is the mirror of the way. Flexible yielding is the function of the way. Reversal is normal for the way. Flexibility is the firmness of the way. Yielding is the strength of the way. Unadulterated purity and plain simplicity are the trunk of the way. Emptiness means there is no burden within. Evenness means the mind is untrammeled. When habitual desires do not burden you, this is the consummation of emptiness. When you have no likes or dislikes, this is the consummation of evenness. when you are unified and unchanging, this is the consummation of calmness. When you are not mixed up in things, this is the consummation of purity. When you neither grieve nor delight, this is the consummation of virtue. The government of complete people abandons intellectualism and does away with showy adornment. Depending on the way, it rejects cunning. It emerges from fairness in unison with the people. It limits what is kept and minimizes what is sought. It gets rid of seductive longings, eliminates desire for valuables, and lessens rumination. Limiting what is kept results in clarity. Minimizing what is sought results in attainment. Therefore, when the external is controlled by the center, nothing is neglected. If you can attain the center, then you can govern the external. With attainment of the center, the internal organs are calm, thoughts are even, sinews and bones are strong, ears and eyes are clear. The great way is level and not far from oneself. Those who seek it afar go and then return. 4. Lao Tzu said, "Sagehood has nothing to do with governing others, but is a matter of ordering oneself. Nobility has nothing to do with power and rank, but is a matter of self-realization. Attain self-realization, and the whole world is found in the self. Happiness has nothing to do with wealth and status, but is a matter of harmony. Those who know enough to deem the self important and consider the world slight are close to the way. Therefore I have said, reaching the extreme of emptiness, keeping utterly still, as myriad beings act in concert, I thereby observe the return. The way molds myriad beings, but is ever formless. Silent and unmoving, it totally comprehends the undifferentiated unknown. No vastness is great enough to be outside it. No minuteness is small enough to be inside it. It has no house, but gives birth to all the names of the existent and non-existent. Real people embody this through open emptiness, even easiness, clear cleanness, flexible yielding, unadulterated purity, and plain simplicity, not getting mixed up in things. Their perfect virtue is the way of heaven and earth, so they are called real people. Real people know how to deem the self great and the world small. They esteem self-government and disdain governing others. They do not let things disturb their harmony. They do not let desires derange their feelings. Concealing their names, they hide when the way is in effect and appear when it is not. They act without contrivance, work without striving, and know without intellectualizing. Cherishing the way of heaven, embracing the heart of heaven, they breathe darkness and light, exhaling the old and inhaling the new. They close up together with darkness and open up together with light. They roll up and roll out together with firmness and flexibility, contract and expand together with darkness and light. They have the same mind as heaven, the same body as the way. Nothing pleases them, nothing pains them, nothing delights them, nothing angers them. All things are mysteriously the same. There's neither right nor wrong. Those who are physically injured by the tortures of extreme climactic conditions find that the spirit is suffocated when the body is exhausted. Those who are psychologically injured by the afflictions of emotions and thoughts find that the body is left over when the spirit is exhausted. Therefore, real people deliberately return to essence, relying on the support of spirit, thus attaining completeness. So they sleep without dreams and awake without worries. 5. When Confucius asked him about the way, Lao Tzu said, "Straighten your body, unify your vision, and the harmony of heaven will arrive. Concentrate your knowledge, rectify your assessment, and the Spirit will come to abide. Virtue will be receptive to you, the way will be there for you. Gaze straight ahead like a newborn calf, without seeking the wherefore. Let your body be like a withered tree and your mind like dead ashes. Realize genuine knowledge and don't use twisted reasoning. Keep yourself open, unminding, and you may attain clarity and all-around mastery. How could this be unknowing?" 6. Lao Tzu said, "Those who serve life adapt to changes as they act. Changes arise from the times. Those who know the times do not behave in fixed ways. Therefore I say, ways can be guides, but not fixed paths. Names can be designated, but not fixed labels. Writings are produced by words, and words come from knowledge. Intellectuals do not know, they do not constitute a fixed way. Terms that can be designated do not make books to be treasured. The learned come to an impasse again and again. This is not as good as keeping centered. Put an end to scholasticism, and there will be no worries. Put an end to sagacity, abandon knowledge, and the people will benefit 100-fold. Human beings are tranquil by birth. This is the celestial nature. Sensing things, they act. This is natural desire. When things come to them, they respond. This is the action of knowledge. When knowledge and things interact, likes and dislikes arise. When likes and dislikes are formed, knowledge goes to externals and cannot be returned to the self, so the celestial design disappears. Therefore, sages do not replace the celestial by the human. Outwardly, they evolve along with things, yet inwardly, they do not lose their true state. So those who realize the way return to clear tranquility. Those who find out about things end up without contrivance. They nurture the intelligence by calmness, unify the spirit by abstraction, and take to the gate of nothingness. Those who follow heaven travel with the way. Those who follow humans mix with the vulgar. Therefore, sages do not let business disturb the world and do not let desires confuse feelings. They do what is appropriate without scheming. They are trusted without speaking. They succeed without thinking about it, achieve without contriving to do so. Therefore, when they are above, the people do not take it gravely, and when they are in front, others do not attack them. The whole world resorts to them. The treacherous fear them. Because they do not contend with anyone, no one dares to contend with them. 7. Lao Tzu said, when people lose their essential nature by following desires, their actions are never correct. To govern a nation in that way results in chaos. To govern oneself in that way results in defilement. Therefore, those who do not hear the way have no means of returning to their essential nature. Those who do not understand things cannot be clear and calm. The essential nature of the original human being has no perversion or defilement, but after long immersion in things, it easily changes. So we forget our roots and conform to a seeming nature. The essential nature of water likes clarity, but gravel pollutes it. The essential nature of humanity likes peace, but habitual desires damage it. Only sages can leave things and return to self. Therefore, sages do not use knowledge to exploit things and do not let desires disrupt harmony. When they are happy, they are not overjoyed, and when they grieve, they are not hopelessly distressed. Thus they are not in danger even in high places, they are secure and stable. So immediate planning on hearing good words is something that even the ignorant know enough to admire. Lofty action in accord with the virtues of sages is something that even the unworthy know enough to look up to. But while those who admire that are many, those who apply it are few. And while those who look up to that are numerous, those who put it into practice are rare. The reason for this is that they cling to things and are tied to the mundane. Therefore it is said, when I contrive nothing, the people evolve on their own. When I strive at nothing, the people prosper on their own. When I enjoy tranquility, the people correct themselves. When I have no desires, the people are naturally plain. Clear serenity is the consummation of virtue. Flexible yielding is the function of the way. Empty calm is the ancestor of all beings. When these three are put into practice, you enter into formlessness. Formlessness is a term for oneness. Oneness means mindlessly merging with the world. So being is born from non-being. Fulfillment is born from emptiness. There are only 5 musical notes, yet the variations of those 5 notes are so many as to be beyond our power to hear. There are only 5 flavors, yet the variations of those 5 flavors are so many as to be beyond our power to taste. There are only 5 colors, but the variation of those 5 colors are so many as to be beyond our power to see. In terms of sound, when the first note is established, the 5 notes are defined. In terms of flavor, when sweetness is established, the 5 flavors are determined. In terms of color, when white is established, the 5 colors are formed. In terms of the way, when the one is established, all things are born. Therefore, the principle of oneness applies everywhere. The vastness of the one is evident throughout heaven and earth. Its totality is solid, like an uncarved block. Its dispersal is total, as if in a suspension. Though in suspension, it gradually clears. Though empty, it gradually fills. It is profound as an ocean, broad as the floating clouds. It seems like nothing, yet it exists. It seems to be absent, yet it is there. 8. Lao Tzu said, the totality of all beings goes through a single opening. The roots of all things emerge from a single gate. Therefore, sages measure a track to follow once and do not change the original or vary from the perennial. Freedom is based on following guidance. Tact is based on honesty. Honesty is based on normalcy. Joy and anger are deviations from the way. Anxiety and lament are loss of virtue. Liking and disliking are excesses of mind. Habitual desires are burdens of life. When people become very angry, that destroys tranquility. When people become very joyful, that dashes positive action. Energy diminished, they become speechless. Startled and frightened, they go crazy. Anxiety and lament burn the heart, so sickness builds up. If people can get rid of all of these, then they merge with spiritual light. Spiritual light is attainment of the inward. When people attain the inward, their internal organs are calm, their thoughts are even, their eyes and ears are clear, and their sinews and bones are strong. They are masterful but not contentious, firm and strong, yet never exhausted. They are not too excessive in anything, nor are they inadequate in anything. Nothing in the world is softer than water. The way of water is infinitely wide and incalculably deep. It extends indefinitely and flows boundlessly far. Increase and decrease pass without reckoning. Up in the sky, it turns into rain and dew. Down in the earth, it turns into moisture and wetlands. Beings cannot live without it. Works cannot be accomplished without it. It embraces all life without personal preferences. Its moisture reaches even to creeping things, and it does not seek reward. Its wealth enriches the whole world without being exhausted. Its virtues are dispersed to the farmers without being wasted. No end to its action can be found. Its subtlety cannot be grasped. Strike it and it is not damaged. Pierce it and it is not wounded. Slash it and it is not cut. Burn it and it does not smoke. Soft and fluid, it cannot be dispersed. It is penetrating enough to bore through metal and stone, strong enough to submerge the whole world. Whether there is excess or lack, it lets the world take and give. It is bestowed upon all beings without order of precedence, neither private nor public. It is continuous with heaven and earth. This is called supreme virtue. The reason water can embody this ultimate virtue is that it is soft and slippery. Therefore, I say that the softest in the world drives the hardest in the world. Non-being enters into no gap. The formless is the great ancestor of beings. The soundless is the great source of species. Real people communicate with the spiritual directorate. Those who participate in evolution as human beings hold mystic virtue in their hearts and employ it creatively like a spirit. Therefore, the unspoken way is very great indeed. It changes customs and mores without any orders being given. It is only mental action. All things have results, but it only goes to the root. All affairs have consequences, but it only stays by the gate. Thereby, it is possible to find the end of the endless and the ultimate of the infinite, to perceive things without being blinded, and to respond echo-like without minding. Primary hexagram, or bottom or inner trigram, will be read as solid, solid, broken. Which will give us the trigram. Dewy, lake or marsh. And dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others, and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. Our top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram will also be read as solid, solid, broken. So primary hexagram is going to be lake over lake, which gives us hexagram 58. Once our changing lines transform, changing lines are the old lines. Changing line, old yang transforms into young yin, and old yin transforms into young yang. So that will give us a bottom trigram from our supporting hexagram of broken, solid, broken, which is Con, water. Con is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. And our top trigram will transform to solid, 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 which gives us Qian, heaven. Qian is suprahuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things, from the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth and what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling, experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and seeds fall to earth. So that will give us heaven above water as our secondary or supporting hexagram, which gives us hexagram 12. No, sorry. Ah, 6. We'll be reading mostly, well, to begin with, from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, translated by Thomas Cleary. He wrote it as a Taoist adept in 1796. I-ming, that is. In the beginning, we have short definitions of each hexagram. So we'll start by simply defining it. Our primary hexagram 58 is translated to joy, communion of the inward and the outward, joy in practicing the Tao. And then hexagram 6, our supporting hexagram, is translated to contention, depending on strength because of danger, causing danger by depending on strength, conflict due to imbalance. Since we got changing line 1 and 2, that will give us a supporting hexagram. And when we ask a question to the I Ching or consult the oracle, the general context of that question will be, how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time? The way our answer works and how we understand it. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together. and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. Hexagram 58, joy, our primary hexagram. Joy is developmental, beneficial if correct. Explanation. Joy is delight. In the body of the hexagram, two yangs are below, one yin is above. Empty without, fulfilled within, it is represented as a body of water, and its quality is joy. As water provides moisture for myriad beings, joy develops myriad beings. Joyful within and without, reaching the outer from within, communicating with the inner from without, inside and outside are conjoined without separation between them. Therefore it is called joy. This hexagram represents joy in practicing the Tao. It follows on the preceding hexagram, travel. Travel involves applying understanding with stability so that understanding is not misused. Having one's will on the Tao so that no external things can move it. Having one's will on the Tao is finding joy in the Tao. When one delights in the Tao, then one can practice the Tao. This is why joy is developmental. However, though joy is developmental on the path, it is only beneficial if correct. When it is correct, it is beneficial and one consummates one's joy. If incorrect, it is not beneficial and one loses one's joy. As in the image of the hexagram, with joy above and below, the 6 lines are parallel. The lower joy is inward joy, the upper joy is outer joy. When inward joy is fulfilled, outer joy is also fulfilled. And when inward joy is empty, outer joy is also empty. Fulfillment here means reality of joy. Emptiness means falsehood of joy. Reality means joy endures. Falsehood means joy does not last long. Herein lies the benefit of correctness. People who practice the Tao really correctly do not delight in objects of the senses, in wealth and gain. They do not delight in benevolence, justice, the qualities of the Tao. So naturally, they have real joy and do not strive for artificial joy. Thus, every step proceeds from the work they apply to the essence and life of body and mind. Joyful in the beginning, they can naturally complete the end. So joy always develops, and the development is always beneficial. Supporting hexagram 6, contention. Contention. There is blockage of truth. Caution and moderation lead to good results. Finality leads to bad results. It is beneficial to see a great person, not beneficial to cross a great river. Explanation. Contention means contention to decide right and wrong. As for the qualities of the hexagram, inside is water, dangerous, and outside is heaven, strong. Relying on strength because of danger and causing danger by force. Both have the meaning of violation of harmony. Therefore, it is called contention. This hexagram represents the downfall of truth and the contest for victory. It follows on the previous hexagram, darkness. In darkness, there is danger, yet one is able to stop, whereby to effect progress of the yin of the acquired temperament. People receive the energy of the temporally conditioned yin and yang and 5 elements, which forms their body. Those who have received excessive yin energy are wily, while those who have received excessive yang energy are impetuous. Those whose yin and yang energies are mixed up are both wily and impetuous. People are such because of their temperaments. Only great sages can change their temperaments, while lesser people are bound by their temperaments. When they are run afoul of, the poison in their negative side acts and they get excited. They contest over victory, eager for power. They plot and scheme to deprive others and benefit themselves. All such things that deviate from harmony and lose balance, arguments, battles of wit, issues of right and wrong, are called contention. People who practice the Tao need to know that the nature of the temperament is most harmful. To practice the principles of the Tao in the context of the events of the world, first erase wile and impetuosity at one stroke. Be inwardly strong but not outwardly aggressive. Then there may be danger in the environment, but there will be no danger in the heart. In this way, one may gradually transmute the temperament and not remain in the clamor of the realm of right and wrong. However, as long as one is still in the world, there is still the possibility of being afflicted by troubles and difficulties. Even if you are not wily yourself, people can hurt you by their craft. Even if you are not impetuous yourself, people can fool you by what they do. This hurts your self-confidence without reason, and even though you have nothing to be ashamed of, you suffer frustration because of it, and reach an impasse. When matters get to where vindication is necessary, rather than desire justification outwardly, it is better to contend with yourself inwardly. Therefore the text says, contention. There is blockage of truth. Caution and moderation lead to good results. If you can be cautious and moderate, wrong thoughts will stop and right thought will arise. The impasse can be penetrated, and wile can be changed. Victory seeking can be eliminated. Otherwise, if you cannot be cautious and moderate, you will lose out in an important matter because of a little anger. Impetuosity will appear outwardly, while guile will arise inwardly. Without having won others, you will have already hurt yourself. If you are not careful in the beginning, the end will surely be bad. However, there are also situations where caution, moderation, and self-struggle do not clear the matter up, and it is necessary to appeal to another, depending on someone to distinguish right and wrong. To distinguish right and wrong, it is beneficial to see a great person. If you do not see a great person, you will not be helped. A great person is one who corrects both self and others, who is able to restrain people's excesses and encourage their virtues, able to solve people's doubts and develop their intelligence. It is most beneficial to see such a person. Otherwise, being unable to exercise caution and moderation so as to change your own temperament, and also unable to see a great person to expand your perception, relying on your own craft alone, contesting for victory, eager for power, overthrowing truth and following falsehood, contending over what should not be contended about, you will call disaster on yourself. Therefore, it is not beneficial to cross a great river. By caution and moderation, you can see a great person. Not being cautious or moderate is crossing a great river. Caution and moderation lead to good results. Being incautious and immoderate lead to bad results. Should not those who practice the Tao contend with themselves to begin with? From Hexagram 58, our primary hexagram, we will read changing lines 1 and 2, and they will have the general context of changing line 1, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed, and changing line 6, beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. Hexagram 58, changing line 1. The joy of harmony is good. Explanation. When strong and firm and always correct and upright, joy comes forth naturally, without any effort. This is called the joy of harmony. When joy attains harmony, one can be great or small, without damaging one's strength, naturally producing good results. This is the joy of strength under control. Changing line 6. Induced joy. Explanation. Delighting in outward appearances, using clever words and a commanding demeanor, not liked by others yet inducing others to like one. Such people pretend to have what they have not, pretend to be fulfilled whereas they are empty. They are unwilling to think of their own errors and also induce others to err. In the end, they cannot make others joyful and wind up being disliked themselves. This is the joy of the weak who concern themselves with externals. So in joy, there are differences between real and false, right and wrong. They are not the same in terms of leading to good or bad results, to regret or shame. In sum, it is important that joy be correct. If it is correct, it is developmental. If incorrect, it is not developmental. Those who would practice the Tao need the correct joy. And let's also read from the back, keeping in mind that our changing lines were our most focus point of our reading. We still have some good stuff in the back here. Commentary on Hexagram 58, joy, lake above, lake below. Joined lakes are joyful, thus do superior people explain and practice with companions. Joy means the joy of harmony. Above and below is lake. This is two lakes joined together, providing each other with water. This is the image of joy. What superior people see in this is that the Tao of nature and life is most profound, and the slightest slip causes a tremendous loss. So they expound and practice it with companions. Companions are people of like mind on the same path. Principles are not clear without explanation. Explanation is not thorough without practice. Companions explain to each other and practice what is explained by each other, discussing back and forth, pursuing their investigation into the Tao in the process of this interaction, entering deeply into it and advancing far on it, finally reaching attainment. The reason for this is that the knowledge of one person is limited, whereas the views of many people are endless. When there is something one does not know oneself, one needs companions to explain and clarify it. By this mutual explanation and practice, those who do not know will come to know, and those without mastery will gain it. Inwardly understanding and outwardly acting in accord with that understanding, there is no doubt that one will reach the stage of profound attainment of self-realization. And supporting hexagram 6, contention. Heaven above, water below. When heaven and water go in different directions, there is contention. Superior people plan in the beginning when they do things. Contention means argument over right and wrong. Above is heaven, below is water. Heaven is most high, water is most low. So heaven and water go in different directions and do not meet. This is the image of contention. What superior people see in this is that aggressiveness and guile, competitiveness and desire for power are the beginnings of beckoning disaster in business and social relations. If one is not careful, one hurts others and damages oneself. Therefore, superior people plan in the beginning when they do things. They do not contend with other people. They contend with themselves. Doing things does not mean one particular action or deed, but all daily activities, practice of the Tao, and establishment of inner character. If one does not plan in the beginning when doing things, one's perception of principles will not be clear, with the result that action will not be appropriate. Being temperamental or impetuous, being unbalanced in action, is accompanied by danger. Therefore, one should plan in the beginning, doing what is to be done, avoiding what is not to be done, being careful in the beginning so as to be able to complete the affair in the end. Doing things means strong action. Planning in the beginning means preventing danger. When one acts after planning and is not careless in action, there is nothing in the world that cannot be done, nothing in the world that cannot be accomplished. Impetuous action is aberrant action. To act dangerously is to beckon danger. In doing things, if one can plan in the beginning, the human mentality will gradually depart and the temperament will gradually sublimate. Joining oneself to others, looking upon others and oneself as the same, there will be no discordant action. Can also take a look, see if there's anything interesting James Dekorne wants to pitch into this. I've left in the description links to his site since he has a good cross-reference of multiple commentaries on the I Ching. So you can kind of get an understanding from a lot of different perspectives. And he also has editor's notes of his own and different quotes that are super helpful often. He calls it joy, and in parentheses, self-indulgence. Other titles, the joyous, joyousness, please, satisfaction, delight, usurpation, self-indulgence, pleasure, cheerfulness, frivolity, callow optimism. Ritzema and Karcher, in their judgment, say open, growing, harvesting trial. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of interaction and exchange. It emphasizes that stimulating things through cheering and persuasive speech, the action of open, is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to stimulate. Cleary says, joy is developmental, beneficial if correct. This hexagram represents joy in practicing the Tao. Having one's will in the Tao is finding joy in the Tao. When one delights in the Tao, then one can practice the Tao. This is why joy is developmental. In the commentary, Confucius/Leg say, joy has the meaning of pleased satisfaction. We have the dynamic lines in the center and the magnetic lines on the outer edge of the two trigrams, indicating that in pleasure, what is most advantageous is the maintenance of firm correctness. Through this, there will be found an accordance with the will of heaven and a correspondence with the feelings of men. When such pleasure goes before the people and leads them on, they forget their toils. When it animates them in encountering difficulties, they forget the risk of death. How great is the power of this pleased satisfaction, stimulating in such a way the people. Leg says, the feeling of pleasure is the subject of this hexagram, which is made up of the doubled trigram of cheerfulness or pleased satisfaction. The progress and attainment of the figure are due to the one magnetic line surmounting each trigram and supported by the two dynamic lines. The idea is that mildness, which is energized by a double portion of strength, The pleasure which leads the people to endure toil and risk death is the effect of the instructive example of their ruler. Fu Fan Hussein paraphrases this portion of the text as, when the sage with this precedes them, he can make them endure toil without any wish to decline it, and go with him into difficulty and danger without their having any fear. Anthony says this hexagram speaks on the one hand of that on which true joy depends, and on the other of joy as desire, which leads to conflict. The essence of true joy is inner stability. Being firmly devoted to our path, we do not waver. When we think of the soft and comfortable path, on the other hand, self-conflict begins. Therefore, getting this hexagram indicates that we may be wavering or irresolute. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. A cheerful attitude serves the will. The superior man shares his thoughts and feelings, or, psychologically interpreted, observes, weighs, and integrates his thoughts with his feelings. The title of this hexagram denotes joyousness and pleasure, and most people regard it as a good omen when they receive it. Yet, an analysis of the lines indicates that only the first two are particularly favorable, and the hexagram itself seldom seems to refer to anything remotely resembling joy in a typical oracle consultation. The lessons to be learned from the figure are the differences between self-indulgence and maintaining emotional stability in one's conduct of the work, which always demands a firm control over one's effects. To receive this hexagram without changing lines requires the querent's careful discrimination. It can mean simply, "Oh, happy day," or it can suggest that you examine an inclination toward lack of control in the situation at hand. The oracle is capable of brutal sarcasm when your query warrants it, so don't be too quick to accept the shallow meaning of joy. As often as not, self-indulgence is the more appropriate title. It's a quote from Lao Tse. In light frivolity, the center is lost. In hasty action, self-mastery is lost. The image depicts an open interchange among friends. Intrapsychically, this suggests the normal give and take between thoughts and feelings for the purpose of reaching integration. The symbol of two bodies of water conjoined, blowfold, might refer to the adjacent dimensions of thought and emotion within the psyche. When feelings are not in harmony with intellectual differentiation, a common phenomenon, give and take, discussion and practice, is essential to effect integration, i.e. harmony or joy. Practice suggests cycles of time and the notion that perfection is still to be achieved. Slofnese's seemingly anomalous title of usurpation for this hexagram offers some subtle insights into the symbolism here. Emotions, feelings, effects are often portrayed as demonic forces which usurp ego consciousness and indulge themselves in the joy of expressing whatever they happen to represent in the psyche. This is often what is implied when receiving this hexagram. Quote from Jung in Psychology and Religion. Each of us is equipped with a psychic disposition that limits our freedom in high degree and makes it practically illusory. Not only is freedom of the will an incalculable problem philosophically, it is also a misnomer in the practical sense, for we seldom find anybody who is not influenced and indeed dominated by desires, habits, impulses, prejudices, resentments, and by every conceivable kind of complex. All these natural facts function exactly like an Olympus full of deities who want to be propitiated, served, feared, and worshipped, not only by the individual owner of this assorted pantheon, but by everybody in his vicinity. Cleary's Taoist commentary, As Water Provides Moisture for Myriad Beings, etc., supports this interpretation. Water symbolizes the emotional realm, and the myriad beings dwelling therein are emotional entities, creatures like untamed animals, which are never happier than when running free. To them, it's joy. To the executive function in the psyche, it's self-indulgence. Usurpation has taken place. And then our supporting hexagram 6, he calls stress. Other titles would be conflict, the symbol of contention, strife, litigation, quarreling, arguing, lawsuit. Quote from D.F. Hook. It is important to mind one step at the very beginning, then things will have a chance to work out all right. In the judgment, Legge says, stress indicates that despite sincere motivations, one still meets with opposition and obstruction. Maintain an apprehensive caution. To prosecute the contention to the bitter end will produce evil results. It is advantageous to see the great man. It is not advantageous to cross the great stream. Blofeld says, conflict, confidence accompanied by obstacles. With care, affairs can be made to prosper in their middle course, but the final outcome will be disaster. It is advantageous to visit a great man, but not to cross the great river or sea. In general, this hexagram indicates that we have little chance of success in any conflict, dispute, or lawsuit in which we are now engaged, and that retreat is the best policy. Unless line 1 or 5 is a moving line, in which case the position is more hopeful. We can profit from the advice of someone truly wise, but a journey of any kind at this time would be disastrous. Ritsema/Karcher, arguing, possessing conformity, blocking awe, centering significant, completing pitfall, harvesting, visualizing great people, not harvesting, wading the great river. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of a dispute. It emphasizes that actively expressing your claims and objections is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to argue. In the commentary, Confucius/Legge says, the coming together of strength and peril gives the idea of stress. A dynamic line in the central place in the lower trigram shows how there will be good fortune if one maintains apprehensive caution. But because contention should not be taken to extremes, there will be evil if one prosecutes his contention to the bitter end. The great man sets a value on the due mean. If one attempts to cross the great stream, he finds himself in an abyss. And Legge says, the upper trigram of strength here controls the lower trigram of peril, which is trying to attack it. Or it may also be seen as someone in a perilous situation contending with strong outside forces. The images of contention and strife. The sincere yang line in the middle of the trigram of peril gives a character to the whole figure. An individual so represented will be very cautious and have good fortune. But since contention is bad, even a sincere individual must fail if he pursues it to the bitter end. The fifth line represents the great man whose agency is sure to be good. His decision in any matter of contention will be correct. The sixth line is also dynamic, but his action is likely to be too rash for a great enterprise, hence the warning about not attempting to cross the great stream. And then notes and paraphrases, judgment. Be careful, don't attempt much, and don't allow the situation to get out of hand. The superior man is judicious about his choices of action to ensure that the situation remains stable. The hexagram portrays a high level of tension. Wilhelm points out that the only favorable line is the ruler in the fifth place, and that all of the other lines symbolize people quarreling. It should also be noted that lines 1 through 4 counsel either retreat from contention or remaining passively in place. Only line 5 suggests that an active struggle can have a favorable outcome, and line 6 portrays the sorry fate of those who insist on demanding their rights. If we turn to the hexagram upside down, we have waiting, which suggests some subtle truths about the proper way to handle stress. A quote from Proverbs 17:19, "He who has a taste for dispute has a taste for blows. The man of haughty speech courts destruction." A quote from Confucius, "At deciding lawsuits, I am no better than anyone else. But what is necessary is to bring about a state of affairs in which there will be no lawsuits." Note that Ritsema/Karcher's summation of the judgment stands in stark disagreement with the general tenor of the figure. I have never received this hexagram when that interpretation has applied. And then back to read changing lines from hexagram 58. Changing line 1. The first line, dynamic, shows the pleasure of inward harmony. There will be good fortune, leg. Cleary, the joy of harmony is good, and also harmonious delight is auspicious. Notes and paraphrases. Wing, a contented assurance about your path and principles leads to good fortune. With such an attitude, you do not need to rely upon external circumstances for your happiness. Editor, the image here suggests a cheerful self-sufficiency in the matter at hand. In some sense, the situation is obvious and under control. Inward harmony might relate to unconscious dynamics unavailable to conscious awareness. And then a quote from Paracelsus' Life and Prophecies by F. Hartman. If the individual mind is one with the universal mind, and if the possessor of the individual mind wishes to find out some secret of nature, he does not require to seek for it outside of the sphere of his mind, but he looks for it in himself, because everything that exists in nature, which is a manifestation of the universal mind, exists in and is reflected by himself, and the idea of there being two minds is only an illusion. The two are one. He breaks down the possible meanings of this changing line with A, B, and C. A being, have a simple faith in the unfolding of the work and cheerfully accept the status quo. B, don't worry, be happy. And C, inner harmony is sufficient unto itself. And then changing line 6. So these lines are our most focused point of the reading. If they conflict a bit, we're just to take that all in and wrestle with it internally, see what that means. Line 6, Blofeld says, joy in the form of allurement. This suggests the superficial joy offered by attractions that would make no appeal to the superior man. Commentary. Wu says he attracts others to enjoy life, but his action is reproachable. Legg says the symbolism of line 6 is akin to that of 3. Line 3 attracts others around herself for the sake of pleasure. The subject of this line leads them to follow herself in quest of it. The action of the hexagram should culminate and end in line 5, but the subject has not yet understood the willpower by which the love of pleasure should be controlled. Anthony says, if we are irresolute, the pressures that vanity exerts in the form of self-pity, impatience, restlessness, or desire may cause us to stray from our path. Such impulses, if not firmly resisted, will take over, at least temporarily. Of all evils, vanity is the most seductive, therefore the most dangerous. Notes and paraphrases. Sue says, vanity in his leadership causes the man to become dependent upon external conditions and chances for satisfaction. Wing says, you are totally given over to external conditions. Your sense of well-being springs not from within, but from what satisfaction you can find in the outside world. Because of this, you are subject to the mercy of chance and the fates of others. Editor. Blofeld renders the line as joy in the form of allurement. Wilhelm uses the concept of seduction to illustrate the idea, and Liu says enticement. Shafnessi's shadowy usurpation suggests a kind of demonic possession, and sometimes this interpretation feels more accurate than any of the others. It is instructive to note that Wilhelm's commentary on this line states that the seduction refers to the situation confronting the querent rather than the querent's attitude per se. It rests with him whether he will let himself be seduced. Intrapsychically, you are being self-indulgent toward an inferior impulse or emotion. A quote from Swedenborg from Apocalypse Explained. For everyone is in the joy of his heart when he is in his ruling love. And so, on the other hand, he is in anguish of heart when he is withheld from it. This is the common torment of hell, out of which innumerable others arise. He's broken line 6 to two possible interpretations, A and B. A, you are being tempted by base desires or illusions. B, some sort of self-indulgence or shadowy usurpation is indicated. And finally, for a practical stance on our reading, we will turn to Hilary Barrett and her I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. Hexagram 58, she calls opening. Key questions. How can you fully enjoy the moment? What are you bringing to expression? What if you communicated and exchanged more freely? Oracle. Opening, creating success. Constancy bears fruit. The early Chinese character for opening shows someone with words rising from their mouth. They seem to be dancing and singing. It means joyful and outgoing expression that opens up communication. Opening brings people together and begins a lively creative process of sharing and exchange. It liberates human energies, motivates people to overcome hardship, and encourages perseverance. Image. Lakes join together, opening. A noble one joins with friends to speak and practice together. Two joined lakes open to one another, flow together freely and enrich one another. The same is true of friends who join together to discuss and share their understanding. The exchange of ideas and pooling of insights makes everyone richer. Sequence. Opening follows from Hexagram 57, subtly penetrating. Entering in and then rejoicing, and so opening follows. You subtly penetrate things and know them from the inside. Then you bring things out and express them with joy, taking delight in the freedom to interact and connect. And our supporting hexagram 6, she translates as arguing. Key questions. What are you arguing for? If you can't win this one, what else can you do? oracle. Arguing. There is truth and confidence blocked. Vigilant and centered, good fortune. Ending, pitfall. Fruitful to see great people. Fruitless to cross the great river. You argue for what you need, for sustenance or to be believed, or simply for justice, for you know in your bones that things are not as they should be. Yet no matter how deep and true your convictions, you find yourself frustrated and your sense of being in resonance and connected with the world is choked off. It's important now to center yourself in vigilance, in a heart open and alert to all the potentials for change, so you stay poised and capable of responsive movement in any direction. To freeze into a combative, defiant posture, holding on to your sense of wrongness to the bitter end, would not resolve conflict, but only establish it in perpetuity. When frustrated and blocked, you need to see great people, those whose higher perspective enables them to see beyond the argument to a larger truth. Perhaps you can find that shift in perspective within yourself. Perhaps you need to consult with someone wiser who is outside the conflict. Meanwhile, it's fruitless to commit yourself further to your position out of sheer defiance. Image. Heaven joins with stream, contradictory movements, arguing. A noble one, starting work, plans how to begin. Water flows downhill away from heaven. Your inner momentum diverges from the immutable laws, pulled away by the flow of emotion. You're in dispute with how it is. This dissenting impulse inspires you to start work and take action. Arguing makes for much better beginnings than endings. In order to direct the inner momentum intelligently, without worsening the conflict, a noble one thinks of heaven joining with the stream. He plans from the outset how to bring the emotional currents of commitment back into accord with absolute principles. Sequence. Arguing follows from Hexagram 5, waiting. Drinking and eating naturally mean arguing. When our needs and appetites are involved, we will fight. And when we argue, need and the fear of lack probably motivate us. Hexagram 5 waits for what it needs. Hexagram 6 demands it. And then our changing lines 1 and 6 from Hexagram 58. With the general context of each being line 1, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. And so that was line 1. Line 6 is beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. Changing line 1 in our primary hexagram 58. Responsive opening, good fortune. This is the promising beginning of conversation, not mere self-expression, but the capacity to listen and respond. You foster trust and make mutual enrichment possible by opening up your inner space to exchange. The foundation for this responsive communication is autonomy and self-reliance. It means that you have something to give, and that you can create a harmonious connection that is not dominated or distorted by what people need from one another. Changing line 6, opening that pulls. This is communication that draws you in, part of an ongoing relationship and exchange with powerful, attractive forces. It can feel as if you are being guided, but Yi doesn't say whether or not your direction is a good one. You are not seeing too clearly yourself. The attraction is strong, but what you are drawn to may or may not be attainable here. read chapter 52 from the Tao Te Ching. Translated by Jia Fu Fang and Jane English. The beginning of the universe is the mother of all things. Knowing the mother, one also knows the sons. Knowing the sons, yet remaining in touch with the mother, brings freedom from the fear of death. Keep your mouth shut, guard the senses, and life is ever full. Open your mouth, always be busy, and life is beyond hope. Seeing the small is insight, yielding to force is strength. Using the outer light, return to insight, and in this way be saved from harm. This is learning constancy.